Well, welcome to the review segment of our show here on the AM show, and Joseph Akable is here in studio. There's another Joseph who'll be zooming with us, Joseph Opoku-Gakpo, our parliamentary correspondent, and that's because Parliament reconvenes today after a 7-week break. He'll be telling us what to expect when Parliament resumes later today. Joseph Opoku, no, not Joseph Opoku-Gakpo via Zoom, but Joseph Akable. Good morning.
Good morning, Mavi, and good morning to our good friend Joseph, who has refused to join us since his NSMQ situation. I heard him asking you whether there will be some pop quiz this morning. I've not seen a.
Are you ready for it though?
I'm always ready. I'm the
this
science,
is semi-final, so the questions are not cheap.
I'm the science champion on the show.
Look at you.
Yeah, ahead of Oriku, you who has turned yourself into a quiz mistress, and obviously Joseph.
I am the mini Dr. Kaufman.
Yes, and the other Joseph who performed abysmally.
Oh, so you think you're an NSMQ champion?
If it's on,
you think you're a champion?
Check whether
you want me to say the backstory?
No, you.
How you begged me to give you an easy question.
You don't worry. It's the same question you gave to Joseph. Let's check whether he's on and let's give him the question and see. He'll
join us in a little bit. He hasn't joined yet, but I promised him I'm not asking any NSMQ question. But of course, we're talking about the competition because semi-finals is today. 3 strong contests. And I would want to find out if he's got a favorite in there. That's the question that I would ask him when he joins us. But Joseph Akable, you are in court today because the Kennedy Japan issue is back. The doctor is supposed to appear before the judge.
Yes, Dr. Akufo-Addo of the Holy Trinity Spa. He is to speak to the excuse duty. He authored asking that Mr. Japan is excused from court for at least 14 days. And so he's supposed to appear. The judge will ask questions and have him explain what exactly he meant by suffering from post-COVID-19 complications. And so once the court is satisfied, then the court will direct that, it will grant him the number of days that has been requested by the doctor. Then he'll be allowed to stay away for those number of days and hopefully returns to the court later on when he's much better.
But you haven't heard that there's been any notice issued by the judge so that you don't go and come back empty-handed?
No, the last notice we got is the one that has to do with upon sober reflection. So we are hoping that there wouldn't be another reflection that will lead to that kind of change. I mean, so let's see what happens.
Okay. Let's say good morning to Joseph Opoku-Gakpo, who is joining us via Zoom. Joseph, good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. You know, Akable here says that he's the NSMQ champion and you couldn't defeat him. I don't want to get into that. But
I have some questions, so be careful what you say.
Oh no, there's nothing that scares me as far as issues of science and technology are concerned because I'm a scientist myself. And for the records, I think Akable couldn't even make it to the nationals. If my memory serves me right. So I don't understand why he will sit there and be bragging as the NSMQ champion.
Oh, do you want us to play back?
Yeah.
You want us to play back the last time?
The last time when the connection was terrible. That's what I'm referring to, right? As for technology failure, it happens every day. And you can't use that against me under any circumstance.
I can't believe this guy.
Be an unfair arbiter in this matter.
Listen, I'm tempted to tell our director Yahweh to go back on the JoyNews page, the Facebook page, and play back that clip for us so we can settle the score like right now. Okay, before we're done with the review, we'll settle the score and then we can...
Like life is about making progress. When you keep looking at the past, you turn into salt. So be careful what you do.
Well, with that said, though, we've got 3 contests in the semi-finals. Any favorites? Opoku-Gakpo. There's Opoku-Wari, Buamponsim, Accra Academy.
I'm rooting for Keta Senior High School.
Oh,
I know that they're in one of the semi-final contests.
That's the second contest, actually.
Actually, my hometown. That's where my mom hails from. So I really look. I'm really looking forward to them going all the way to the final and probably winning this.
Unfortunately, my hometown school is not inside.
I can please say that again.
I said, unfortunately, my hometown school is not inside, since that's how we are selecting the schools we are supporting.
No, I'm going through. Hold on. There's Opoku-Ware as well. I have a few friends, a number of them who are actually students of Opoku-Ware that I'll be happy to see them, also in the final. And our friends from Ebri, those are the three that I'm rooting for going into this particular final.
Okay.
But all in all, I would really be excited if our friends from Keta Senior High Technical School pick up the trophy in the end.
Okay.
Because you see, the other bit is that it's always exciting to see underdogs and people who are not expected to make it to the very top reach there. When any such underdogs reach such high levels as they deserve to be.
Okay, you justified your Keta and Opoku-Ware, but I didn't hear what you said about Ebri.
I'm a fan of underdogs. And I think Ebri is coming up against, if my memory serves me right,
it's Kumasi Academy and Presec Legon.
I'll still root for Ebri.
Okay, all right.
Because I think they are the underdogs. Presec, they won too many of them. I think it's about time they give chance for others to have that opportunity.
Okay, let's move on.
So I'm waiting for Ebri President.
Okay, all right. You say your hometown people are not featuring, so you're not rooting for anybody?
Yes, but there's a university close to Presec Legon where I school, so I'll go with Presec Legon. Yeah, I think they'll do a sixth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to the second contest, actually, the Achimota, Keta, and Adisadel College. I think it's going to be a really interesting contest. Achimota was very strong, Keta surprisingly strong as well. And then as for Adisco, so that's the contest that
I think the Opoku-Ware Academy contest and the Achimota and Adisadel, those contests look very tough. I'm not too sure about whether Kumasi Academy, they are doing
Kumerica,
well.
Definitely. Well. They're a very strong side indeed.
There was some school, I saw them, the guy was saying that Mamin Kebi, was it that one? Do you see that video?
No, I didn't.
Oh, they didn't know their mics were on and was telling the other guy, Mamin Kebi. Then there was another one I saw too. The guy said, a bit my true. Those two.
Yeah, but what's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong. I'm just telling you what I remember about those.
Well, we thank our sponsors, those who have made it possible for us to bring you this contest live here on JoyNews. Bright Senior High School in Kokrotumi, DBS Roofing, Papa Parfie, Adonko Hand Sanitizer, and Adonko Next Energy Level Drink. All right, let's concentrate on the newspapers now. Joseph, let's start with what you have.
I'll start with the front page of the Daily Guide. A Japa IPO suspended and free SHS troubles Mahama. NPP Cocoa Records Superior is coming from Yabuabena, Samoa. And Akufo-Addo consoles Rawlings, also on the front page. Slay Queens brawl over flag bearer. Details of that story on page 8. Slay Queens brawl over flag bearer. You want me to mention their names? Let me go to page 8. I wasn't interested.
This has happened before, hasn't it?
Yeah, this is okay.
As in Slay Queens doing their thing.
So there are two photographs here. There's one of Miss Bell and one of Ifia Schwarzenegger under the headline Slay Queens. So I'm not okay. So I guess let's
leave the details to those who are interested.
Suggesting they are the Slay Queens. Okay. The back page says new stars jersey unveiled, and Ambassador Kweku Mons, Cobra Corte also on the back page, and Rashford begs for Spurs thrashing, and we played into their hands. It's coming from Jurgen Klopp of Liverpool. I'll quickly take you to the Ghanaian Times. The front page says, government suspends a Japa IPO, awaits reports on corruption risk assessment from OSP. And at the 2020 Ghana Teacher Prize Awards, Erika Sumenin, adjudged Best Teacher, receives 3-bedroom accommodation, other items. EC begins acceptance of nomination forms for presidential parliamentary aspirants. Second-year junior high school, senior high school students return to school, also on the front page of the Times. The back page has that Tamale Sanerugu suffering devastating flooding, and Equiapim Gold grows avocado for oil exports, also on the back page. The crime page quickly, it has this story about a painter remanded for causing harm, and 3 killed, 19 others injured in separate road crashes at Akumadan, also on the crime page. And the last one for me will be the Business and Financial Times. We have ticked all safety boxes. Is coming from the Nuclear Energy Regulator licensing program being drawn, and sun winning destroys cocoa farms in Ashanti region. A lack of incentives impede exporters' desire to take advantage of COVID-19. The back page of the Business and Financial Times says we remain resolute in our support for clients affected by COVID-19. And BOJ Finance Ministry must be commended for cedi stability, is coming from Dr. Opoku-Addo, said the first Deputy Governor at the Bank of Ghana. And Ghana International Bank appoints new head of coverage for Africa. Mamavi.
Let's do the finder. Front page, Akufo-Addo consoles Rawlings Agbotri family. Mahama will destroy the solid foundation MPP has laid, according to Dr. Baumia. MPP policies revived cocoa sector. Farmers are better off. Cocoa roads never neglected. 2020 most outstanding teacher in Ghana wins 3-bedroom house worth 180,000 Ghana cedis. Some free senior high school 2 student not complying with mask wearing. Also another headline here. And COVID-19 protocols observed as JHS 2 resumes. So that's in sharp contrast. These two headlines. One is senior high school student not complying with the mask wearing, and then the other is the junior high school 2 observing all the protocols according to the paper. The Daily Graphic front page, President Akufo-Addo consoles Rawlings. This story really is everywhere today in all the papers. We brought details of that to you in our news. Pension reform best for workers, according to SNIT. Government committed to licensure exam. President affirms at Teacher Prize Day. Cocoa, coffee, share nut farmers group lots governments. In the center spread of the paper today, let's see what we have in the center spread of the Daily Graphic. Okay, let's do the back page. FDA assures clients of improved services, and then robbers attack Accra Kumasi buses. Driver, 2 passengers shot. A driver of a VIP bus and 2 passengers have been shot and injured by armed robbers during a midnight raid on the Apedra-Bunso stretch of the Accra Kumasi highway. The driver, identified as Delali Yao Chagli, was receiving treatments at the hospital, or a hospital on the Bunso Nkoko Road as of press time yesterday when they filed the story. But it goes on to tell us about how the attack happened, more about the victim, and then the precaution that the police is giving. Let's just fast forward to that. There's a caution that drivers must be very circumspect and vigilant on the Accra Kumasi highway, especially at nights. Passengers must also remain very vigilant and call the police during such emergency situations, while the police is also urging commercial drivers or vehicles to continue to use the services of security personnel on their trips. So there's more to the story on the back page of the paper, Joseph.
So let's, a bit of the details, page 13 of the Ghanaian Times, that story about the government suspending the Japa IPO. We are told that the government has suspended the launch of an initial public offer of Japa Mineral Royalties Limited to allow the Office of the Special Prosecutor conduct its corruption risk assessment regarding the transaction. They said they've cited a letter signed by Deputy Minister of Finance, Charles Edubuahi, on October 1 this year. And that letter says the decision was taken ahead of the OSP's request for further and better particulars regarding the arrangement. There's a quote here says, "This was prior to your office's request for information and production of documents," the letter stated. Mr. Buahin said, "Kindly note that the document was prepared about 2 months ago by the transaction advisors to update the minister on the progress of the transaction. The timing expressed in the document was the intention of the transaction advisors at the time to launch the IPO by the end of September 2020 to be completed by the end of the year." So that is the latest coming from government in terms of this particular transaction. And so the questions that remain outstanding is, first, whether or not they will be able to provide the documents and the OSP will be able to carry out the risk assessment, because government was working with a December timeline that it was hoping to undertake the listing. And so as to whether they'll be able to finish all this and still do the listing before December are still questions that remain outstanding. But we'll see how this one goes. Yeah, will the SP also inform us? Well, that letter was not directed at us, right? It was to the Finance Ministry. We just happened to see it. I was just wondering if you would tell us
whether or not he had received those documents from the finance ministry for him to go ahead and do that assessment that he was hoping to do. And then, he can draw his conclusion on the matter. But there's a story in the Daily Dispatch that I want Joseph Opoku-Gakpo to also share his thoughts on, together with what we have on Voters' Voice today. This is the Daily Dispatch front page. Agona Donko chief bans NDC MP from campaigning in his area for disrespect. Details of that story on page 2, not on 12 as is being advertised on the front page. It says, following what the chief of Agona Donko, Nana Kojo Amwakwa the Fifth, describes as disrespect and disgrace to the Agona Donko stool, he has banned the member of parliament for Agona East constituency in the central region, Mrs. Quinsta Mame Pokia Sawyer, from campaigning in the town and its surrounding communities. The NDC MP, who is seeking re-election, is said to have alleged paying some monies to the chief for development projects, to which the chief failed to do. So the chief has subsequently denied receiving any such money from the NP, and according to him, all chiefs, sub-chiefs, elders of Donko lands have been instructed to ensure that nobody allowed the MP, her supporters or agents to engage in political campaigns on the lands. Joseph, any thoughts on this?
First of all, that seat in Agona is one of those seats that is proving controversial as the build-up continues. Quinsta Pokia Sawyer is coming up against Professor Kwesi Anka, the Minister of Education.
Minister of State.
Minister of State, yes, in charge of
tertiary.
Education. Gradually, there is always one controversy or the other brewing up in that area. Of course, we all know the clear provisions as far as Ghana's laws are concerned that chiefs shouldn't be engaged in active politics. And in fact, Parliament has sought to firm that up over the years. You recall that, if my memory serves me right, this was in the year 2015 or so. There was a by-election that resulted in some violence to a certain extent in the Chieftaincy area that eventually brought BT Baba to Parliament, and then he won the seat again. This was actually a seat that became vacant because the member of Parliament for the area then decided to take up the role of a chief. And when he decided to do that, Speaker then, Doa Jaho, then went ahead to declare his seat vacant because he hadn't been seen in Parliament for a very long time. Robert Musori Domion, he eventually became the paramount chief of the Chieftaincy traditional area, I think. And I recall very much that when, in 2015, Speaker Doa Jaho was declaring that particular seat vacant to allow for the by-election that eventually brought BT Baba to Parliament as an MP, he repeatedly made the point about the need to ensure that there is that clear distinction between those who are engaged in politics and those, rightly making the point that if a person decides to engage in chieftaincy or a chief decides to engage in politics, there should be that clear distinction so that then the necessary actions are taken. I think those efforts should be made to actually sanitize the conduct of chiefs so we don't have some of these situations repeating, because you end up creating a situation where some form of unfair advantage is created. Because look at what is happening in Agona now. Now the MP is being prevented from campaigning in a particular area, most likely for the benefit of her opponent, and then it raises questions about the chief's own bias, as some would want to put it, and how that may end up influencing the processes. Well, unfortunately, there are too many laws and regulations and write-ups in bills and acts that get never enforced, because there are questions, and maybe Joseph can help us with that. Are there specific sanctions that the law spell out that should be applied when chiefs actually engage in active politics that we can probably make the conscious effort to apply when some of these actions happen? Well, we need to see.
I guess following that provision specifically in the Constitution, is there anything, because we've seen them flouting this, doing their own things over the period. So is there punishment? Is there prescribed punishment for that?
At best, what we can look to will be the fact that, that could be a basis for their removal from the various state-recognized bodies that they belong to. You know that if you're a member of either the regional or the National House of Chiefs, there are some allowances that you're entitled to. But in terms of sanctions, as in it amounting to a crime, I haven't seen any law that states that specifically. And there are those who have made the argument that even the fact that the state has not pursued or taken up the matter against anyone, that has also not given the courts the opportunity to speak on what exactly active politics means. Because someone will tell you that, look, a president or a candidate has come to my place. He has built schools and roads for me. I'm grateful. I feel he's done well and deserves another term. He says that is not active politics. There are those who hold the view that that is active politics because you're endorsing one candidate. There are also some chiefs who play around it. I mean, you get the message they are putting across, but they are not direct. And so it's more of the fact that we've not taken up the matter to the judiciary for interpretation. And that's how come there is that lack of clarity in terms of even what constitutes a breach of that particular constitutional provision.
But yet you also still see some people, add their voices and say, vote for this person.
Yes, I mean, I've heard some say for more to do more. I've heard some say that, I mean, there was one chief I heard yesterday, he was making a point that they are offering the president a parcel of land to build a house here and that they are doing everything to support his next term bid and ensure that he wins by a huge margin. I mean, those ones are aspects that we can talk about.
Yeah, I think
obviously the states will never want to take this up and make a big deal of it because the same politicians are the ultimate beneficiaries of some of these actions in terms of public declarations of support. But I think that the chieftaincy institution, in order to continue to exert its relevance and to create a situation where people continue to respect it, the chieftaincy institution itself must sit up and deal with some of their own when it comes to some of these things, from the National House of Chiefs to the Regional House of Chiefs, and set examples of their colleagues. Because then, if this continues, they are creating room for people who are on the other side of the political divide to openly disrespect them once they declare their support for one candidate or the other. And so I think the institution should be able to exert its authority and deal with this without even external actors like the state and all. Otherwise, then their relevance gets lost going forward and respect for it.
Yeah, but Joseph, Parliament is back today. Tell us what we should expect. Any interesting bills that you'll be following for us?
Just a minute before then I get to that. A few of the issues that came up on the newspaper review, the Ejapa deal we gather has actually been suspended. Earlier, the indication was that the processes to allow for the initial public offer was going to begin at the ending of last month, which government says it's gone ahead to suspend. The special prosecutor, as we all know, is usually in a world of his own, on timelines of his own. We're waiting to see if really by December he would have finished the work that he's doing and whether government will be ready and willing to hold on until December to commence the processes for the IPO. I have made the point that I think it wouldn't be prudent and it wouldn't make sense for that said initial public offer to actually commence before December 7, 2019, because the political risks are enormous. I don't think any investor will buy stake in a Ejapa before December 7. If they do that, they won't be able to raise the 1 billion they're hoping to raise, because chances are that people will be scared, people will be worried. But after December 7, then everyone is clear in their mind. If it's NPP winning, then there's 4 more years to invest and reap some benefits before any possible cancellation. If it's NDC, then it's going off the table completely. So even if the process is allowed to continue, there is no way the floating of shares on the London and Ghana Stock Exchange should have happened before December, because it will be politically unwise to do that. But with the special prosecutor going on with all of that, we wait to see how things pan out. You did the story about the cocoa roads. It's been a repeated concern that money meant for cocoa roads have ended up being money that's been used for other purposes than cocoa roads, including building roads in Accra and elsewhere. The cocoa board boss is assuring us that that hasn't happened over the past 4 years and will not happen going forward. We wait to see how things pan out. It's become a repeated political issue in Parliament, with the minority demanding details of the said audit report that cocoa board did back in 2017, that some of the roads had been inflated and all. Yesterday, Kwame Agboja and Joseph Boahene were on, that's the cocoa board CEO, and the minority spokesperson on transport were on News 9. I hope they managed to settle that one way or the other. But the final thing, the story did about compliance with the wearing of face masks. The reality is that you watch TV, ministers sit on TV, have conversations and are not in face masks. You watch public events, people campaigning and not wearing face masks and all. So we're setting that example for the young people who are watching us on TV and are probably listening to us. So if we really want schools and students to comply as they return to school, let's all begin to set the right example by adhering to the COVID protocols and wearing our
Absolutely. Now we have just very limited time for you to tell us about Parliament as they return from that recess. 7 weeks break it's been?
Yes. So the key thing we can expect is that the Minister for Finance will be in the House to deliver the 2021 first quarter budget statements, because that's what the law requires, that before we get into the year, the budget for the year that's coming up be read. And because it's an election year, then it will just be that of the first quarter. So over the next 6 weeks, we're expecting the finance minister to actually come do that. There's a bill before Parliament, the Public Officers Conduct Bill 2018, which among others will strengthen the asset declaration regime and allow for the Auditor General to do more than just taking it and keeping it under lock and key. That bill has been in the House for a few months now. The House will deal with it before they eventually go on break. And then the other key thing is this whole issue around Ghana facing sanctions from the European Union. There's an money laundering legislation that's being introduced in Parliament as part of the efforts to strengthen how we deal with money laundering and anti-terrorism financing. Obviously, the House will prioritize that among a list of other things before they eventually take a break to go campaign ahead of December 7th.
Okay, we have to wrap up, but just in 30 seconds, our director Yao is going to put a write-up. This is the President, Akufo-Addo, writing in the book of condolence. Joseph Akable, am I right?
Yes, when he visited Mr. Rawlings, the former president. And, you know, I saw it on social media. People have been trying to read what exactly was written.
So what did Mr. President write exactly? Can we try to read that?
I have been able to read it.
Oh, you have?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Opoku Gakpo, you see that on the screen. Can you attempt reading?
My screen is frozen. Yeah, so it's a little difficult to read.
Okay, I'll start for you, okay? I can read the date, 5th October 2020. Mona's name, Nana Addo Akufo-Addo. The address, Jubilee Villa, Kanda, Accra. So go ahead with the remarks.
I wish to extend my deep sadness and sympathies on the loss of your mother.
No, no, Joseph.
Wait, let him finish. Go ahead. Nobody's marking you, Joseph. Go ahead.
And then it goes on to say that the loss of your mother is always a difficult situation. She lived a very good life. I wish to say that may the Almighty God bless her and bless you as well. Signed, President Akufo-Addo. Hooray! Thank you for coming with us. So there you go. I nailed it.
Okay, what did he actually say?
Okay, so it says, I came to extend my deep condolences and sympathies to the loss of Commandant's mother. And the loss of a mother is always a special moment in the life of any person. As I can testify myself, I wish Madame Victoria Agbotu the very best of peace in the bosom of the Almighty until the last day of the resurrection, when we shall all meet again.
How many times did you read it before you finally got it?
Many, many times. And even eventually when I got it, people were still correcting me that I've left some there and some somewhere.
Okay, so Joseph Opoku Gakpo, you are the hero this morning, okay? You are my hero.
Everything I've said over the last 1 minute or so. Thanks for the coffee.
Listen, Joseph, we'll see you in Parliament later today, okay? Thanks a lot for joining us. Thank you, Joseph Akable. Joseph packs off to the courts this morning. He will give us updates on that Kennedy Japan case. We have to take a breather. We'll come back with sports. Oreko Ampopo has some summer transfer news coming up. Stay with us.